Hiya, I'm Alexandru. I'm a computer geek and a computer hacker. I come actually from Hackerville, which is the world's cybercrime capital of the world, but I'm going to talk to you about the real hacking, and I'm going to talk about patience. So the most fundamental question that all of the children, all of the people should ask is how much you desire and what you actually desire from life. This is very important. Just make your dream a huge dream, work hard, and you will be able to succeed in order to fulfill your dream. A sculpture can do a broom, but also a sculpture can do a Stradivarius. Both are sculptures. The difference between those two sculptures are actually their passion for building stuff and the time then actually they spent in order to do something amazing in their field. Both are sculptures. An inventor, until he invents something, actually has to spend a lot of time reinventing the wheel a few dozen times. I still have to invent something a few times in order to, finally to call myself an inventor. And yeah, I'm working to be able to call myself an inventor in the future. Nobody's born with knowledge. Actually, Edison said that. And all of the time there is a way from simple to complex. I've never seen the researcher who actually said, hey, let's do teleportation or something like that. All of the research, they start from something very small, fundamental stuff, and after that, after some time, and after many years of spent in the research, they will be able to succeed and do something amazing. And I'm going to talk about, about my last 10 years. I'm programming for 10 years. And the greatest IT industry has the greatest advantage that is able to create needs from an opportunity. For example, many devices that actually didn't really exist 20 years ago, like a laptop, like a smartphone, like a mobile phone, actually they didn't really exist. And now there are needs in human pockets. For example, this is a very famous picture from Vatican in 2005 and 2013. And you can see how many people actually use smartphones and tablets in 2005 and 2013. The world is changing. I'm programming for 10 years, and I've been involved in 40 different projects. I've been to a lot of contests in Romania about computer science inventions, and I wanted to spark a little bit of passion for computer science and computers. When I was 7th class grade, I challenged myself in order to create my own small antivirus. I knew that I will not be able to sell the product because there are a lot of companies in the world that they spend maybe dozens of millions of dollars in building their software. And I was just a 7th class grade, but I challenged myself to learn something from that product. And I learned a lot of stuff, how the virus works, what's a polymorphic virus, I also built my own viruses. I've been on mega security when I was in the 6th class grade. And, but it was an amazing stuff, working to those kind of projects because you learn a lot of stuff. And I've never imposed myself to sell the product. I just, I was trying to do 1% of my own antivirus. But after a few months, I saw that I was able to create about 60% of a skeleton from an antivirus. Most of the functions, they were already built. It was only able to recognize about 10 viruses. They were just mine. But, it was a great challenge for me, and I learned a lot of stuff. When I was in 9th class grade, I got my first, I was qualified to go to my first international science fair in US. And, I started to search on the internet, to surf on the internet, what are the projects from the previous year to the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair. And I was amazed that I was not able to read the project names because they were very hard for me. And all of them, they were using artificial intelligence stuff, neural networks, genetic algorithms, and mostly I was not able even to read the title of the projects. So when I was 9th class grade, a freshman in the high school, I decided to build my own software that uses artificial neural networks. And the software was trying to help programmers in order to simplify their jobs for making a speech recognition, a face detection, a face recognition, optical character recognition to recognize handwriting. And it was a challenge, very interesting to do my first artificial intelligence project. And to my surprise, I was invited to attend the Nobel Prize in Computer Science. Of course, I didn't win the Nobel Prize in Computer Science, which is called Turing Award. But I was very amazed that I was the only high school student. I was a freshman. All of the others were just very well researchers. And the people who actually changed the world in computer science in the last 50 years. And I was just a small kid over there. Actually, when I returned from the ACM, which is the largest association of computer science, actually I understood what's ACM. When I was also in 9th class grade, I was trying, a lot of burglars in Romania that was using, quality in order to steal the ATM. So I was trying to use a webcam and to use image processing in order to recognize the burglars when they are trying to steal the ATM or when they go in a bank or something like that. So I did something, and it was a great challenge to solve a problem for me, and I was not really interested, in to advertise my project. When I was 10th class grade, I decided, I build a software for AI using neural networks. What about the programming language? I've been working for 6-7 years in a programming languages, and I was amazed how complex they are. So in 10th class grade, I challenged myself, hey, can I build my own programming language? I actually also use artificial intelligence. So A-Lab is a scripting language that uses neural network, genetic algorithm, fuzzy techniques, and other AI paradigms. It was an amazing challenge for me. I think this is my complex project that I've ever been working to. And there were about 60,000 lines of code in that project. I had an uncle which is blind. And so when I was junior, I decided if I would be able to use my knowledge to help him, because he's blind. And all of the time I saw him, having different problems in life. So I was trying to do something, a project to help him. So initially I was thinking to different approaches, like a 3D radar who is spinning about, and after that to send to the headphones, and about 3D data about the environment, like to recognize the objects or something like that, about the environment, where are the obstacles. The biggest challenge and the biggest problem with my initial idea was that the ears are one-dimensional, maximum two-dimensional, so I was not able to create a 3D data and to send to a blind people using headphones. So I was, researching like any other hacker in biological stuff, and I saw that I can use the tongue in order to send an electrical image on a tongue, and after that, the blind people try to understand the electrical image made by pokes from the tongue and to try to understand and learn the objects. So that was the sensory matrix that was placed on the tongue for the blind people. Over there were like electrical pictures generated by electricity, and over the time the blind people were able to understand the pictures. And in 1 month he was able to recognize about 30, 40 different objects and using my interface. So this is actually a hacking. There are multiple hackers. I mean, Bill Gates, actually, according to Wikipedia, he's a hacker. He's a very successful hacker. Steve Jobs, actually, is a very successful hacker. Hacker is not about hacking stuff and stealing money from credit cards. Actually, my people from my town, they do that. But they are not hackers, actually. They are called phishers because they phish credit cards, but they are not hackers. And until a hacker builds his own hacking software, he's a script kiddie. So all of the hackers that are really hackers, they need to be very good programmers. Nobody can be a hacker without programming. And there can be electrical hackers, building stuff, to help blind people. There can be very talented programmers, building programming languages, or just be Bill Gates. They are hackers. Okay, so I just went to a contest in the US, and I was amazed that I got a $40,000 scholarship to study to any college in the US. And right now I'm at the University of Bucharest, and I actually declined the scholarship. And I was amazed that I was also able to meet the president of the world's largest association in electronics. Okay, so in the same year, I was also trying to, there are a lot of disasters, also crowds, traffic jams in Bucharest. So I was thinking, if I can use satellite maps in order to process the data from satellites in order to recognize the cars and to count them in order to understand if there are traffic jams. So the software was trying to process images from satellites in order to recognize hurricanes, traffic jams, many different disasters like floods, oil spill. It was a great challenge for me, and I went to different Olympiads in environment engineering, and I was amazed by the reception of different researchers in their field, and they said me that they tried about 25 years ago to do image processing and AI to process disasters, but because that time the computers were very, very bad at processing, they decided to renounce the idea. But computers become very powerful, and now they can be used in order to recognize different disasters, like an arson in Canada, because it's huge area, and nobody's actually processing this area. 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I was graduating 2 online courses by a Stanford University professor, a former professor at the Stanford University, Sebastian Tran. He made an introduction to the Stanford self-driving car, which is called Google self-driving car. I was amazed by the results of the Google self-driving car that it drove by itself about 100,000 miles without any accident. So actually, I was amazed by the fact that it works, and I graduated. The online courses were very simple, and it was a small different paradigm using probabilities. So I was amazed, and so I challenged myself, the same stuff. If I will be able to create 1% of my own self-driving car. And working in my homemade laboratory, a hacker laboratory over there, doing electronic stuff, I was working to create a software using image processing to recognize traffic scenes, traffic lanes, sidewalks, and in the online courses, it states that there is a device called 3D LiDAR, for self-driving cars in order to recognize objects. Just buy the 3D LiDAR, place on your car, and that's the self-driving car. The biggest problem was I searched on eBay the 3D LiDAR, and I was not able to find a 3D LiDAR. And I searched on Google, and it cost $75,000. Actually, the professor, Sebastian Tran, I think he didn't know actually the price of the 3D LiDAR. So because I was not able to buy a very expensive 3D LiDAR, I decided, if I can do a different approaches. So I use image processing in order to recognize vehicle, to make a vehicle detection. But the detection is very bad. It's about 70% of recognition of cars. That means in 1 year there will be millions of cars that cannot be recognized by a software. So it is necessary to build a software in order to recognize, to use sensors or a 3D LiDAR to recognize objects, to make an obstacle detection. So that's my homemade 3D LiDAR, which is about $200. It's not as performant as the Velodin 3D LiDAR, but I use in my simulation in Hackerville, actually. I've done about 30 different hours of simulation of how self-driving car thinks, just like in the previous movie. There were about 30 different hours, and I was amazed about the results. So this is a picture of Google self-driving car, the Velodin, the Lexus self-driving car, General Motors one, BMW one, Ford, Volkswagen. They use the same very expensive 3D LiDAR that cost $75,000. So 3 years ago, it was $100,000. So because I was not able to afford to buy such thing, I was working in my homemade laboratory to research and to hack something in order to build my own 3D LiDAR. And this is, like any other maker, like any other hobbyist, like any other hacker, I was trying to use different approaches. I was not able to afford a very expensive, powerful computer with multiple CPUs, so I decided to use 5 different laptops inside of the car. So in all of those simulations, there were a lot of laptops, about 5 laptops, 3 different cameras, 1 GPS, the 3D LiDAR that was spinning on the roof of the car. And I was processing all of those data with a software. This is the software, the main interface. And it was very important for me in order to have all of these options. A different simulation in my city, in Hackerville, actually. The traffic scene detection using colors and neural networks. I use also genetic algorithms in order to find the best topology of the neural network. I did a collaboration between all of the self-driving cars in order to understand. Maybe there are some situations when a self-driving car cannot see the traffic scene because there is a truck on the right side, or there is an object and the self-driving car is not able to see the traffic scene. So all of the self-driving cars are talking each other, are communicating in order to make a collaborative database of traffic scenes. So this is my $200 the low-cost 3D LiDAR. It is not as good as the Velodin 3D LiDAR. It's about 18,000 pixels, and the Velodin one is about 1 million pixel data per second. So, I think it's quite an impressive, 3D LiDAR for a senior in the high school, and I was able to collect data, for my self-driving car, and I was not able to start to use the 3D LiDAR on the real life because there are not laws, and the 3D LiDAR was not very powerful. It didn't have a very great resolution to recognize all of kind of objects and small objects from bigger distance. That's my father's car because I didn't have a driving license that. And there were about 5 laptops, one driver, my dad, myself over there on the right side, processing, seeing the data, 3 different cameras, a GPS inside. This is the software which I was receiving the data. this is the software actually for reading the data from the 3D LiDAR. Each of the obstacle, there is a cube over there that means is an object. The cluster means actually cars, and from the left side and the right side, there are the buildings. The big cluster are actually different buildings and from the environment. Because there were 5 different laptops, it was quite hard to open all of the laptops to change something over there. So I did a master software, from one laptop to control all of the other 5 laptops. Because for me, it was quite hard to go to all of those 5 laptops, typing in the same time to all of them. I went to a contest in US called Intel International Science and Engineering Fair. With my little science fair project, I talked about 2 different professors about my project, and to my surprise, I won $75,000 in US. And the most interesting stuff is actually after the winning the grand award, the Gordon E. Moore Award. All of the people in Romania, they told me that you don't have any kind of future in Romania. Just go in US to study over there, at MIT or something like that. And actually, I was amazed. After I came from US, I talked with the Prime Minister of Romania, with the Minister of Education, and I talked them to make a scholarship for freshman and sophomore college students in order to work to a project and to get some money. And so they did a small, actually a very great program, 50 scholarship, 50,000 euros each for computer geeks, for hackers, for electrical engineers, to make a project just like my self-driving car, to any kind of project, and to win some money, and just working to a project. And I was amazed that everybody told me that I cannot change anything in my country, and I was able to change a little bit my country in a positive way. And right now, I actually choose to stay furthermore in Romania because Romania is the country with the most experts in IT from Europe. 25 years ago, most of Romanians have never seen a computer. And now, Romania is the 5th country in the world with the most experts in IT. Right now, I'm working to a different project, like any other maker, because the biggest challenge for makers, for electrical engineers, for hackers, for hobbyists, is actually after they build a prototype, they are not able to afford or to make a production line, to a manufacturing line. So right now I'm trying to create a robot, a machine called VisionBot, pick and place machine, which is trying to manufacture printed circuit boards for mass production. Right now the makers, they have 2 options. The first one is to buy very expensive robots, machines that actually create your smartphone. These machines, they cost a few $100,000. The advantage is they will be able to create a few millions of PCBs per month or something like that. So you will earn a lot of money from them, but the maker is not able to afford to buy a very expensive machine, and it is not building a lot of millions of products in a month. So VisionBot is a professional but low quantity or medium quantity machine that is creating about a few 3,000 to 4,000 PCBs per month, and I think is a very good option for makers. And this is the last slide, another picture. I'm looking to start the VisionBot on Kickstarter because 2 months ago I've been in China to a contest, and I met some old friends from China, and all of them, they just went to businesses and they got very successful Kickstarter campaigns, so they challenged me if I'm able to create a Kickstarter campaign in order to sell the VisionBot to other makers. So this is my story. I am a hacker actually. Also Bill Gates is a hacker, and but all of the hackers, they build stuff. And nobody is born with knowledge. Everybody over here, all of the children, all of the kids, they must have a dream. But it's very important how big is that dream. If you have a very small dream, after many years, if you work, you will be able to achieve that small dream. Just impose yourself a huge dream. Work hard, and I guarantee you that you will be able to fulfill your dreams. I'm just a guy from Romania, and I've been working a lot to my projects, and I did something, and I hope in one day I will be able to change the world, and those devices of mine to be used by a guy from Africa or a guy from Asia or something like that, and that will be a very great stuff for me. Thank you very much, and have a nice time.
Isn't he amazing? Incredible. So, I mean, you mentioned it very briefly in your talk, but just so everyone can get their head around this, almost everything you learned to build your self-driving car, you taught yourself, and you signed up to a free university course online run by some universities in the US and learned how to build a self-driving car yourself in Romania.
Yeah, the internet is the greatest stuff that we have. We can use internet in order to waste our time playing games, but also we can use the internet to win Nobel Prizes. The difference is actually the guy who actually used the internet. just use the internet in order to do projects, to learn something about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and you will be a very successful guy. Actually, the companies are actually looking for computer geeks. Actually, for example, I got $75,000, and when I was senior in the high school, and I was able to to create that scholarship for other teenagers. So the world is actually looking for makers, for electrical engineers, for smart guys. But anybody can be a smart guy. I'm not a genius, and I don't believe in geniuses. Those people who actually are able to succeed, they have patience. Nobody's born with a patience. They just find after many years. And, I don't think it's a huge coincidence that actually I'm from the country with the most experts in IT from Europe. I am from the city called Hackerville, which is the cybercrime capital of the world. And I'm building stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alexandru Budisteanu, give him a big hand.